Okay, now that I have my tools, I'm going to proceed to remove the trap, the pop-up assembly, and then after that, the joys of plumbing.
Really, dude?
I love plumbing. I've been plumbing for 35 years.
I'm really good with my hands.
Never gets old. Okay, one more time. Hi, I'm David with We Plumb. Plumber. Today we have a service call where the customer's called and would like to have their lavatory faucet replaced. So I've just pulled up. We're gonna go inside and see what we need to replace the faucet and get the job done and make the customer happy. Let's go. All right, here we are in the customer's bathroom. And here's the faucet that they want to replace on their lavatory here. And here's the pop-up assembly. Let's go ahead and take a look under here and see what's gonna be needed. Okay, there's our two stop valves that we're gonna replace. The drain looks a little hokey. I think I'm gonna reconfigure the drain just to make it look a little nicer and give it better flow. All right, let's go get everything we need and let's make this happen. Should do it. All right, well, let's see what we need to do. First things first, let's go shut off the water. Now typically, the main water shut off in a house should be where the water heater is located. And here we be. Okay, got a 3/4 inch line coming in. I'm gonna say this is our shut off for the entire house. Now the reason we want to shut the house off is to drain everything down, relieve the pressure and not flood anything. So back in the house we go. And let's get a faucet open and make sure the water has definitely been shut off. Wow, that was quick. It's already off. All right, you can hear the air being sucked in. Okay, now our water's off. Let's go ahead and get busy. We're gonna get under here. I'm gonna remove the trap. I'm gonna remove the pop-up assembly, which is the drain from the sink down to the trap. And then I'm gonna remove the emergency stops. All right, so here we go. Ooh. Loosen up the pop-up drain. Okay, that's unscrewed now. Disconnect our trap. Next, disconnect the nut on the pop-up assembly. Well, old drain. Okay, so there's our pop-up assembly removed. Our trap is gone. But I'd really like to do, because of the way they've configured their drain, which is not your standard normal way to do something, is I'm gonna go ahead and cut off this 90 here, and I'm gonna go ahead and plumb it the way I'd like to plumb it. So let me get my saw back out, and let's go ahead and get rid of what they have here. Let's bring it up to date. Hopefully we can get this saw in here. Yeah, you know what? Let me go ahead and do the stop valves. Okay. And loosen these up. That one's in this. That one's off. Always remember to make sure the water is shut off to the house. If not, it's going to make for a fun day. Okay. That's one. Come back over here for the two. Three. Shut off's gone. Now, let's go ahead and get rid of the drain. Now, Hey, there we go. Okay, now that we've got that removed, everything's free. Next thing, let's remove the faucet and replace the faucet while we have everything out of the way and not hindering us from removing it. Now, most of the time, sometimes, depending on the mood I'm in, I'll either lay on my back and reach up there with a pair of channel locks or what have you. But this here, what I have, is called a basin wrench. And the basin wrench is designed specifically for this application. As you can tell, I haven't used it for a while. And you can buy these adjustable or non-adjustable. And there's a nut underneath that holds the faucet in place. So now I've got a that is tightening, and this would be loosening. So let's see if I can reach under there with my hands and feel for it. Now that I've got the nut loosened, I should be able to get the rest of it by hand. Be careful not to let the old faucet fall into the sink and crack it. Okay, now that I have my nut off, now I can stand up and stretch my legs and pull the other faucet up and go ahead and prep the sink and the countertop for the installation of the customer's new faucet. There we go. Okay, let's go up top. Wow, look at that. Yum. Now I want lunch. I just got hungry. All right, so there it is, the removal of the customer's old faucet. As you can see, somebody used plumber's putty in the past to seal underneath. That faucet actually came with a no-ring. You have to be careful when you use plumber's putty on top of granite countertop, because sometimes if they're not sealed correctly, or you use the wrong plumber's putty, because they do make plumber's putty for granite countertops, the oil from the plumber's putty can bleed into the top and bleed out and leave a ring that'll never go away. All right, so let's clean everything up. And let's go see what the customer has they want us to install. Okay, here we are. We have the customer's faucet, some of the items I need for the drain underneath. We have our pop-up assembly. We have our emergency stops. We have our trap, extension tail pieces. First things first, let's go ahead and get the faucet installed right there. And here's our lovely faucets. This is a piece of all thread that comes with the faucet. This is what attaches to the faucet. And then once put to the sink, this is what your fastener to fasten the faucet down to the sink will tighten to. Here's my clamp for underneath. And here's the nut they've provided with us to tighten down. And it looks like we're on the money. But here we go. Now, when tightening these down, you don't have to really Superman them. You want to get them snug. You also want to line them up, make sure you're straight. So in this case, instead of using the basin wrench, I'm going to use the best tool ever invented, if I can find it, amongst all this. Oh, here they are. Well, actually, I don't need to. They've provided us with a tool. Well, that just saved me. And this, they provide me, tightens the nut down to secure the faucet in place. And voila. Handy to have, so we'll put this in the drawer for the customer or for the next plumber if they ever want to remove the faucet. Now what I'm doing is making sure that my supply lines are long enough from the faucet that are going to actually reach the stop valves when I put them in. And we've got about 3 inches past it, so we're good there. And about the same on the hot as well. Note the faucet is marked with a hot and cold, or color coded. Go ahead and twist those, make sure they're tight. Cold is blue wrapped, and the hot has the red wrap around it, red lines. Okay, now that that's done, the next thing we want to do is actually go ahead and put on the shutoff valves, or the stops rather, and tighten the supply lines. That way we know all that in there is done, and then we can move on to the pop-up assembly and the drain. Here we have our stops, emergency stops. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Open up our packages. So just make sure we have everything. Okay, there's our shutoffs. There's the escutcheons for the shutoffs. All right, first, before we actually install these, SharkBite, since we've cut the pegs to remove the old stop valves, makes a deburring tool. Per manufacturer's specs, the pipe has to be recessed into the SharkBite minimum of 1 inch. And also, you can go to sharkbite.com to ensure that you're meeting the required depth for which size pipe you're using. Let's deburr the pipe. It's cold. Now hot. Now, let's measure and mark for our 1 inch. Now that I have my marks, we're going to push these on. Escutcheon, beauty ring, for the actual emergency stop. Let's go ahead and do the cold first. Now, since this pipe is not really secure in the wall on the hot side, I'm going to use these pair of chain locks to help me and assist to making sure that the pipe stays firm when I push these on. That's 1. This is 2. Make sure your stop valves are turned off, so when you turn the water back on, you can turn them on slowly. Make sure the water's not hammering against everything. I'm going to attach my 3/8 supply line that comes from the faucet to the 3/8 connection that's on our stop valves. And if you can, when putting them on, go as far as you can hand tightening. These don't have to be supermaned on there because there is a gasket in there that is awfully forgiving. Okay, now that these are on, I'm going to give them a little snug, quarter turn snug. Well, maybe more. Go ahead and snug them down more. Now that our stops, emergency stops, are on, we can go ahead and next step, let's go ahead and put on the drain assembly, also known as the pop-up assembly. And that's the drain inlet and outlet for the actual opening of your lavatory. Now, these come in all different styles. Let's see what the customer has brought us today. Oh, I just love the bubble wrap. I don't know about y'all, but this is kind of OC. Oh wow. All right, that's enough of that. Okay, here we go with our pop-up assembly. Protective cover on there. Pull in, pull out. Boy, that's really nice how they've done that. Really nice. Okay. Wow. So for this pop-up assembly, this drain assembly, I was going to read the directions, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll take the nut all the way off. There we go. cone gasket for the underside and gasket for the top side. Now, a lot of your pop-up assemblies will not come with a gasket. This is a nice one, so it comes with a gasket. So what we plumbers like to use is plumber's putty. We roll it up, smooth it out, put it in this bead, press down in, and that'll be our sealant. But today, this comes with a gasket. Also, on majority of your sinks, you'll have a thing called an overflow. If you look in this part here, you'll see there's 3 holes. The purpose of these 3 holes is if you turn on the water, have the sink stop, and you walk away to go do the laundry or something else, answer a phone call, but you forgot to let the sink on, the water comes down through these overflows, so it never overflows the lip of the sink and floods out your whole place. That's the purpose for it. And if you see, there are channels built within the sink itself when it's cast that's hollow for the water allowed to run through. Now, if you look at the pop-up assembly, drain assembly, you can see there are 2 holes on each side. So the objectivity is to make sure these holes are lined up with the drain that's there so it's done correctly. Here we go. Now keep in mind when doing this that you do not have to over tighten. This is a metal pop-up assembly and you're tightening it to china or porcelain. So it really takes a good feel, good snug to make sure you're doing it appropriately. And if I hold my mouth right, we're going to put this on right up there. Now remember, make sure your holes are lined up correctly when you put this in. And just get the nut started here. There we go. All right, with a righty-tighty motion, we're going to snug this up. And remember, when you are tightening and compressing metal to glass, porcelain, china, you need to kind of use your judgment. As you can see, in this instance, I'm probably just going to hand tighten it and see if we can get away with that. So before we had a kind of configured drain that I really didn't like for flow purposes. So what we're going to do now is I have an 1.5 inch by 1.25 inch trap adapter. You can get these anywhere, Lowe's, Home Depot, anyway. So let's go ahead and get going and put this together. I'm going to place some paper towels under here. You can use plastic, paper towels, rag, cardboard, whatever you like. And I have our all-in-one glue. And let's proceed to glue the trap adapter on. So I'm putting glue on the exterior of the pipe. Then I'll put a little glue on the inside of this 1.5 inch by 1.25 inch PVC fitting. Push on, turn a quarter turn to ensure we're locked, and we are in. Voila! Put your cap on your glue and remove it from under the cabinet to make sure it doesn't get knocked over and make a mess. Okay, next we have our 1.25 inch trap in the bag. I'm going to head and nut first. This is actually called in the plumbing trade a tubular P-trap. So this is our 1.5 inch tubular P-trap. As you can see, on this end, it conforms to this side of the trap, the S-trap, on the outlet of it. So it'll go in there. Sometimes you can use pipe dope if you find you're having problems and seal that up a little better. But it goes together, nut comes down, it snugs it up, hand tight, you don't have to overdo it, don't even need a wrench. And that's what's going to seal and keep your water and your vapor there, to keep the sewer gases and your trap seal from going back up. A lot of people don't realize, but the purpose for this trap is very important. When the water is turned on, water will come down, go up, and go down the drain out to the sewer system. But when you turn the water off, the way the trap is designed, water actually stays in the trap. And the purpose for the water being in this trap is not just to catch earrings and rings and stuff like that and dentures and whatever. The purpose of this is it causes a seal. And that seal prevents the sewer gases from coming back from the public sewer and the rest of the house and stinking up the whole bathroom. So the purpose of this trap is to create a barrier to prevent sewer gases from coming into the house, which is not something you want to breathe. Okay, now we've got our other part of our trap. We call it the arm over, or the arm. And here's our gaskets. These are called beveled gaskets. Sometimes they're made of plastic or beveled poly washers. In this case, this one's rubber, pliable, it's nice. And what you want to do, the tapered part, is to go on like this. Because when this actually seats into the trap adapter, it's wedging in there and creating a seal. And when the nut comes on and it pushes back against it, it compresses it in there and spreads the rubber out. And that's what creates the seal there, so we have no leaks. Okay, now that we have that on, we get our trap here, and we go ahead and line up to where we're going to want to be. To me, that looks a lot nicer and a lot cleaner already. So, notice we have a gap through the actual drain pop-up assembly in the trap. So they also make another part, which is called an extension tailpiece. This is an 1.25 inch extension tailpiece, and that's going to make up the difference between your pop-up assembly and your trap. Also, with these extension tailpieces, they come in a variety of measurements. Me personally, typically I'll get one that's double-ended, which is a little longer, with a nut just like this, or threads like this on each side. That way when I cut one, I'll still have another piece I can use and cut. I always try to buy the longest one I can get. They come in 4 inch, 6 inch, 8 inch, and 12 inch. Might as well just buy the 12 because you never know how much you're really going to need. So, first thing we do is we go ahead and take our nut and our rubber washer and we slip it over the pop-up assembly. And we push that all the way up as far as we want to go, as high as we can go. And there you go. Alright, so here's our trap. Here's the stop point on the inside of a trap on the hub where the pipe's going to bottom out at. So what I want to do, so you can see it's the same on the extension tailpiece, is I want to stick this up there as high as I can get it, bring this over, and get my mark. And that looks about right. So we're going to take this like so. Be careful when cutting if you're using a saw, because this overcutting can cause these to snap. Oh, voila. Okay. That's 1, 2. Always make sure you have plenty of nuts. In fact, let me go ahead and switch this out real quick, because I just want to use the nut that came with the trap adapter instead of this one. So we have an extra one, and I can save this one for another project. This one comes with the trap adapter, already has your beveled washer built in, so no gasket needed. Now that I've got my measurement and I've for my extension tailpiece to bottom out to the bottom of the trap, you'll notice that this arm they gave us adjusts you to push it as far back or out as you need to make sure that the drain from the lavatory is going to line up with the drain coming out of the wall. So we're going to go ahead and slide it back in and take my trap and we're going to line it up. Huh, look, I got so lucky. Right on it. So we're going to go ahead and snug the nut up by hand. Remember, we're dealing with plastic, so you really don't have to Superman it. A lot of times these fixture drains will actually, you can hand tighten them without even needing a wrench, and they will stay sealed. Okay. So now we've got my faucet installed, the pop-up assembly installed, our emergency stops put on, our supply lines attached, our escutcheons on, our tubular P-trap on, our extension tailpiece on. Well, I guess now it's time to turn on the water and test for leaks. All right. Whenever turning the water back on to any house, I always make sure I turn it on slowly so the water doesn't hammer anything or break any debris free or loose that might get caught up in any of the valves or working parts of the fixtures. So what I'm going to do is turn that on about halfway, let it start filling up, and go check my stops and make sure they're holding. Faucet straight, looks good. Now, for testing purposes, after I turn on the stops on the underside, we're going to fill the sink up with water, pull the plug, make sure we don't have any leaks. On this here is adjustable, in, off, well, not really. But this will go down in my pop-up assembly, push up, push down, seal. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this in. Now we should be sealed. Go underneath, make sure faucet's off. Hot and cold. Okay, let's go ahead and I always hold my hand in front of the faucet because I really don't want to take a bath. Sometimes the air in the system, it'll spit all over you. Okay. We have our stopper sealed. Air's still getting out. Sure the air's out. Put this back in, stop it, let's go ahead and fill it up. Make sure cold is on the right and our hot's on the left. Oh yeah, definitely hot. What you can do also in your own home once in a while is you can go ahead and stop up your sinks, your kitchen sink, with the stoppers they come with. Fill the sink up halfway. You can even do it with your tubs. Fill your tubs up halfway. Go ahead and pull the plug and let the gravity of the water just really oomph and flush the lines out. All right, let's go ahead and look underneath. Now, typically I sit here and give it about 5-10 minutes to make sure that we're not leaking from our drain or pop-up assembly, because there's been plenty of time plumbers come out, put something together, run the water, oh it's good, walk away, and then get called back an hour later or the next day saying that you have a drip because you didn't take the extra 5 minutes to ensure that you had no leaks. So let's come back in 5 minutes and see if we have a leak or not. Okay, as you can see, we have the water sitting in the sink. It's been about 5-10 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and look underneath, and I'm gonna check for leaks. Now, a lot of people, they'll tend to look for leaks with their eyeballs, but I've found in plumbing, the best way to check for a leak is with your fingers. And you take your finger and you wrap it around each of your joints and connections, and you can always see on your finger if there's any water or not, because it'll show up shiny. Dry, 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 bottom of my trap, dry. Male adapter nut, dry. Let's check our stops. Dry, water. All right, everything appears and seems to be solid and holding. And here's the true test. When you pull the plug, it's just really gonna give it a lot of oomph. Oh, that's a nice drain. Look at that, Coriolis effect. Bye. Never hurts to double check. And there, the customer's new faucet is installed, pop-up assembly. And we've also reconfigured the drain, and now we have new emergency stops. And that's pretty much it. Well, thank you for joining me on this install today, customer's faucet. For a direct link for the actual SharkBite Max stop valves I put on, go ahead and look at the description below to get further information on that. And thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.